Good morning, evening, or night. Wherever you are, welcome to WHAM today. Take a deep breath, clear your mind, and let's drift through the whispers of today's world, one quiet thought at a time. As we wrap up Saturday, 12th July, 2025, let's see what stories are unfolding around us. Financial markets are reacting to former President Donald Trump's announcement of a 30% tariff on goods from the European Union and Mexico, scheduled for August 1st, adding to market volatility. The EU has vowed to protect its interests in response to these tariffs. The cryptocurrency market has seen a surge following Donald Trump's return, driven by regulatory changes, increasing institutional capital, and political factors. However, inherent risks like volatility and illicit use persist. Russia has seen investors pouring $16 into Bitcoin futures within a single month. Russia is under increased scrutiny, with President Vladimir Putin wanted by the International Criminal Court (ICC), absent from the BRICS summit in Rio, where China was represented by Prime Minister Li Qiang. Moscow attributes the collapse of the Russia-UN food deal to sanctions. Russia has launched over 620 drone and missile strikes on Ukraine. To control domestic prices, Russia is considering a new ban on gasoline exports. Further, a high-ranking Russian diplomat met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un amidst concerns about North Korea's involvement in the Ukraine war. An Italian court has overturned some of Rome's conditions related to Unicredit's bid for BPM, while maintaining the requirement concerning Unicredit's operations in Russia. The European Union is formulating its response to the newly imposed tariffs by the United States. The BRICS summit in Rio took place without the presence of President Putin, wanted by the ICC. The absence of both Putin and Xi Jinping, who sent Prime Minister Li Qiang, raises questions about the bloc's ability to establish a new global order. North Korea's potential involvement in the Ukraine war is under international scrutiny, demonstrated by a meeting between Kim Jong-un and a high-ranking Russian diplomat. China is seeing U.S. senators raising concerns with NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang regarding his trip to China, fearing AI tech could boost China's military. A five-star hotel in Chengzhou, Jiangsu, now offers affordable meal boxes catering to local tastes. Meituan hit a record 150 million daily orders, outperforming JD.com and Alibaba. American-style bulk buying is booming in China, seen in Sam's Club's success despite U.S. trade friction. Solar stocks in China are up after Beijing intervened to stabilize prices amid a price war. Foreign-owned public funds are expanding in China, launching over 30 new products since 2025 began. Turning to Hong Kong, Chief Executive John Lee Ka-chiu suggested the region could become a leader in the global space economy. Meanwhile, South Korea has been asked by the U.S. to help counter China's increasing control over the global shipbuilding market. India's stock market saw a downturn as the Sensex and Nifty 50 indices both fell. This decline stemmed from worries about tariffs and underwhelming earnings reports. U.S.-India trade talks, first-quarter earnings announcements, and macroeconomic data releases are expected to influence market activity in the coming week. Furthermore, India's securities regulator is increasing its scrutiny of the options market after spotting irregular trading in contracts linked to the benchmark index. Despite the market's ups and downs, Jay Thakkar suggests buying shares of Adani Energy, Solutions, and Colgate-Palmolive. The anticipated Jane Street ban may hinder the Indian stock exchange's rally and valuation. Australia's Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, is in China, his second visit aimed at reinforcing connections despite existing security and trade tensions. A key component of this trip is a scheduled meeting with President Xi Jinping. This diplomatic effort unfolds as Australia intensifies its oversight of Chinese investment especially within the critical minerals sector. Meanwhile, an Australian minister clarified that the country will refrain from making advance troop commitments for any potential future conflict. In domestic affairs, Australia's anti-Semitism envoy has refuted allegations of involvement in her husband's trust's contribution to an organization known for its anti-immigrant stance. The United States has announced new tariffs. President Donald Trump plans to impose 30% tariffs on goods from the European Union and Mexico. These tariffs are scheduled to take effect on August 1. Mexico is now in discussions with the United States. The goal is to avoid the impending tariffs. These discussions follow President Trump's announcement. The European Union has reacted to the tariff announcement. World leaders have expressed concern about escalating trade tensions. The new tariffs could impact major U.S. trading partners. Ukraine is set to receive over €130 million from the European Investment Bank. The funds will support the reconstruction of the nation's transport infrastructure. Russia has intensified its attacks, launching over 620 drone and missile strikes. These strikes have disproportionately targeted western regions of Ukraine. Turning to the United States, former President Donald Trump has pledged a major statement regarding Russia. Trump also promised to increase weapons supplies to Ukraine if re-elected. Meanwhile, North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un, has publicly reaffirmed his support for Russia. This continues a trend of strengthened ties between the two nations amid the ongoing conflict. Singapore's property sector is buzzing after a new mass-market private residential project debuted, selling over 90% of its units. The project's success is partly attributed to its lower-than-expected pricing, which may indicate a shift in the market's pricing strategies following recent regulatory changes. Meanwhile, in China, market observers are focusing on what they describe as a price war campaign to decipher the nation's economic direction. This framework is influencing investment decisions within the Chinese stock market, as strategists try to anticipate policy impact. European stock markets faced a downturn. This was fueled by rising trade war anxieties. The White House's expected actions and potential EU tariffs are causes. UBS analysts are closely watching the upcoming Q2 earnings season. Moving to the United States, anxieties grew about the Federal Reserve's monetary policy power. Inflation data is being closely scrutinized for clues. The potential for further interest rate hikes remains a key concern. In China, economic data showed a mixed picture. Export growth slowed, raising concerns about global demand. The government is considering further stimulus measures to support the economy. These measures aim to offset external pressures. Turning to Canada, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced new investments in renewable energy projects. These projects are part of Canada's commitment to reduce carbon emissions. The government aims to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. North Korea has reaffirmed its full support for Russia's military actions in Ukraine, as reported by the Korean Central News Agency, KCNA. This support was voiced during discussions between leader Kim Jong-un and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, signaling a strengthening alliance between Pyongyang and Moscow amidst the continuing conflict. The visit by the high-ranking Moscow official to North Korea emphasizes the increasingly close relationship between the two countries, especially considering Russia's participation in the war in Ukraine. South Africa recently played host to G20 gatherings, navigating the complexities of current global trade disagreements alongside its own earnings season. In the financial sector, Signia introduced a Bitcoin fund connected to BlackRock's IBIT. While the conflict between City Power and Eskom has been resolved, the event highlighted significant challenges within South Africa's electricity distribution infrastructure. The United States' imposition of a 35% tariff on Canada has stirred reactions in Asia-Pacific markets, causing stock futures to dip and the dollar to rise, with the possibility of higher blanket tariff rates looming. Brazil's Catholic community has voiced disapproval of a 50% tariff on their exports. Germany, France, and Spain have reacted to the threat of a 30% tariff rate, with French President Macron urging the EU to defend its interests. Vietnam has requested assistance from a U.S. business group to aid in tariff negotiations. These tariffs are occurring alongside broader criticisms from the BRICS nations, who are advocating for reforms of institutions like the IMF and World Bank, and challenging unilateral trade measures. Shifting to Iran, the nation is considering a U.S. offer to restart nuclear talks, as Russia's President Putin encourages Iran to accept a zero-enrichment nuclear deal, with the U.S. Iranian Foreign Minister Iraqi has stated Iran's intention to collaborate with the IAEA, while also noting potential risks associated with inspection. In Japan, the nation is determined to secure concessions on U.S. auto tariffs during upcoming trade talks. Despite concerns over U.S. tariffs, Japan's service sector sentiment has improved due to summer heat. Japan and the EU are also collaborating on a satellite network project to reduce reliance on the U.S. and SpaceX. Saudi Arabia is reportedly in talks with Lionel Messi for a potential move to a Saudi club as he enters the final months of his Inter Miami contract. Furthermore, changes in real estate regulations will allow expatriates to purchase property in Saudi Arabia starting in 2026. The country's financial mid-year report reflects a mixed performance. Nigeria's capital market has seen a 16% increase in the first half of 2025, with NGX instruments reaching 126.73 trillion. The NGX group, under the leadership of Papula, is focused on redefining Nigeria's capital market for a global future. Ethiopia has launched its first government securities, trading on its securities exchange, marking a new phase for global capital in the country. And Qatar, through Invest Qatar and the Qatar Free Zones Authority, QFC, has concluded an Asian roadshow, engaging in strategic discussions in Japan. Romania will see the Trump Organization construct a luxury apartment tower block in Bucharest, in partnership with a Romanian real estate developer. Turkey sees defense companies, Aselsan and Papillon, leading gains in a global surge in defense stocks during the first half of 2025. Finally, Slovakia is aiming to secure an agreement on Russian gas and sanctions by Tuesday. And that's a wrap for today's news, because even headlines need a nap. Stay curious, stay kind, and let the noise fade as you find your quiet. Take care, stay awesome, and I'll see you next time on WHAM Today.